Welcome to Orange Country. Okay, guys. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Orange Country.
Where are you looking?
I don't know. I don't know where I'm looking anymore.
She's like,
I'm very excited.
Studio audience.
I'm very excited today.
We're here.
We're here, and we have an amazing guest with us today. We have Mr. Johnny Gentleman, who I had the pleasure of just meeting recently.
Yes.
I just attended a drag show for a charity, and I had the pleasure of meeting you there. And I'm going to do a little intro for you, Johnny. So
Thank
Johnny
you.
Gentleman is a Latinx trans masculine drag king who has worked hard to break boundaries in the Los Angeles and WeHo drag scene. He's been a vocal advocate for drag king and non-binary drag equality in the Los Angeles drag community and has worked with many LA producers and venues to bring drag king visibility to queen-dominated stages, especially highlighting drag performances of color. You've been featured in Vox.com, the LA Times, and Spectrum News, and performed at several drag festivals around the U.S., such as Bushwig and Oaklash. Oaklash?
Oaklash,
Okay. Yeah. And you were the first drag king producer to perform and coordinate an all-indigenous drag lineup for LA Pride 2023. And you started LA's first drag king brunch, Dapper Puss, in July 2022. That is currently at Mama's Shelter every third Saturday of the month.
Yes.
Amazing.
Welcome, Johnny.
Hi.
There is so much to unpack
There
in
is
that intro.
so much
That was
to
such
unpack.
a big bio, and I'm so sorry.
No.
No, don't be sorry about it. I mean, you have a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think the thing that attracted me to you was, first and foremost, I love drag. I love drag shows. I think it's so fun. I
Yeah.
love an environment.
I mean,
also,
look at her makeup.
Like, I know, really. I do.
mean, it's flawless.
I
It
do,
is.
right?
It's
I do it
amazing.
myself.
That's
I
a-
strive
that is
to
a compliment.
keep up with you guys. It is.
It
and
is.
I appreciate all of it. I love like creative expression and performance. I think it's really fun. Also, as a woman, honestly, I find it very refreshing that you can go to something like that and it is completely non-threatening. I know I'm not going to get touched inappropriately. Like, I don't understand why chicks always are like I don't like the strip clubs, like the men's strip club. I don't want to be in a men or a women's strip club. To me, that's a completely different thing. Drag is about being creative. It's about creative expression, and it's a good time and it's fun.
Yep.
Everybody participates and I love it. And I don't feel threatened by it. I don't know how to describe it,
Yay.
but that is for me, that's why I love drag. But I didn't even know that drag king was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
can you first, okay, so the first thing, I know we talked about this offline, but I was trying to introduce you the proper way, but I got hung up even on the first line because I was like, Johnny Gentleman is a Latinx, and I didn't know what that meant. So
Yeah. So Latinx is a term that hasn't been used for a long period of time. Genuine, like in the general sense of Latin culture. So when you see like Latinx with the X or with the E at the end in Spanish, it means it could be two different things, right? So for me, I'm a transmasculine, non-binary person outside of drag.
Okay. Which means what?
So the best way I can explain it, I'm also indigenous, so I believe that I have a feminine and a masculine spirit in me.
Okay.
Within myself, and so I'm both genders, not just one.
Okay.
So for me, when I say Latinx, it's to respect my non-binary identity, but
Okay.
also be proud of my Latin culture along with that. But you can also use it as a broad term for the whole Latin community if you wanted to use
Oh,
that.
right, because it's like
It's
gender
non-gender.
neutral.
Because
It's gender neutral.
Because Latino, Latina, so it's basically covering everything in between and both.
It can, yes.
Okay, that's the part that was really interesting to me that I hadn't heard that term.
Yeah.
So I think that's great.
Yeah, it's new terms. I mean, for myself, I didn't even know what non-binary was until like I started dating a non-binary person.
Well,
which was like 7 years ago.
Let's assume we're dating and
Yeah.
that you explain it to us.
Yeah, so non-binary means that it's a broader term. Everybody has their own definition of what non-binary is.
Okay.
So
interesting.
so there's people that don't identify as male or female.
I have a friend. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're just kind of like, I'm just me.
How's that different? So the is it trans masculine?
Yes.
So where do those two intersect, and what are different about them?
So transmasculine most of the time means that a person was born a female,
Okay.
and then transitioned into a masculine presence.
Okay.
So I've transitioned medically.
Okay.
So you were born female.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
okay.
transmasculine is telling that you went. That's the direction.
That's the direction I went
Okay.
into.
Okay.
Yeah. So just like if you hear trans femme,
Yes.
it's the same
I
situation.
never knew that, and I've heard
so
that.
that is just you're transgender.
Yeah.
But you're identifying the order of the switch.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
actually very helpful.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And it's funny
okay.
because like for me, people are like, trans-mass, what does that mean? And I'm very proud of being a trans-mass person, just because I'm a Latin person that came from a Catholic, military, first generation, household. I'm the only trans person in the history of my family to ever transition.
It also seems
Yeah.
less common in that direction.
It is.
Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Because of our cultural expectations, especially as women.
Yes.
Being born women, you're being pressured to be a certain
Pretty
kind of
little
woman.
girl.
Yeah, a pretty little girl. I was raised with my mother not liking the factor that I wanted to wear pants or that I didn't want to wear dresses. And, I remember when I started puberty, my mom got rid of all of my my tomboy clothes and said, you're going to start dressing like a girl. And it didn't make me feel any kind of validated. And so it didn't take me until about 4 years ago. I didn't start my transition. And
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was so scared for a majority of my life to transition that it took me being locked down in COVID to understand like this is who I've been.
Isn't that funny that those kind of things gave people some interest? I mean,
So
it
much
could
came
went
out of
different
COVID.
ways for different
You're
people.
stuck in a room by
Yeah.
yourself.
You're gonna
for
get to
several
know
days.
yourself.
Yeah.
But that's a good testament though, because you did a lot of self-reflection during
Yeah.
that time. It seems like, because that's the only thing you really could do. And so that actually is a really good thing that came out of COVID is like
Yeah.
you being able to fully accept and embrace who you are.
Exactly.
Who you were, and this is who you were born, who you are, and then during COVID you were able to fully accept and embrace that, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think.
Let's
Are
talk.
you still close with your parents? I'm just curious.
So I have disconnected with my father.
Okay.
Just because he has always been a domestically violent person. And me transitioning was a part of that fear of becoming him. So I came to a point in my life where I'm like, I'm gonna be a family person. I'm about to be a parent.
Oh yeah!
in a couple of
Congratulations!
months.
You're having a baby girl.
I'm having a baby girl in 3 months.
That's amazing. Are you married?
I am married.
Okay.
I'm married to a drag king.
You are.
you?
I am.
Okay, so can we just, Johnny? Can we just talk about this? Okay, so the drag king, because now this is all coming into more clarity for me. So drag king is now when you are like, just explain it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So drag king has actually, I just realized this with my own research. Drag kings have kind of actually existed for centuries.
Okay.
They started being popular in the 1990s in New York with Club Casanova.
Okay.
With like drag kings such as like Moby Dick, Murray Hill, the famous actor. Murray Hill is a legendary drag king.
Interesting. I just know that I have several friends who, graduated college and lived in Murray Hill. That's the only Murray Hill reference I have. I did not know the famous drag king, but I will look him
Murray
up.
Hill.
Yeah,
Yes.
so drag kings are pretty much a majority of the time they are assigned
It's okay.
Word. So most of the time, drag kings are people that were assigned female at birth. They usually, it's their male impersonation persona.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's them going into just like drag queens who go into female
An
makeup
exaggerated version and character that you create
Exactly.
for you because you are a male and you've transitioned and all
Yeah.
that. It's still the same thing though. It's an exaggerated character. It's a fun, creative character
Yeah.
of your fully probably like masculine ego or whatever,
Exactly.
What's the
right?
performance look like?
It
So-
is so fucking good. I am not joking. Like the passion, like everything in there, it was so entertaining and so fun. And like you
Thank
were
you.
so exceptional. Like the
Thank
amount
you.
of like heart behind the performance, like I was so into it. And
Thank you.
I was like, you honestly, you are. And I don't want
So
to
what
downplay
happens?
because drag is wonderful and it's fun,
Yeah.
but you are more than that. Like you
Thank
should
you.
be on Broadway. You should be doing plays. Like I don't know if you're already doing all of that, but you should continue that if you
Podcasts.
are.
I
Yeah.
do have a podcast.
You
Yeah,
do?
I do.
Okay.
It's on and off because
What is it
life
called?
is busy. It's called Behind the Kingdom, King-Dumb.
Okay.
So it's pretty much a podcast about drag kings, educating about drag kings. Drag things, which is non-binary drag, which is like you can be an alien, you can be, a gender fluid person. Where a friend of mine, Pterodactyl, is like as
Pterodactyl.
yeah, exactly. And but what they do is that since we usually have 2 acts, they perform as twins. So they transition from a drag king into a drag queen, and then say they're twins. So yeah, there's so many forms of drag that are out there that is not, binary to queens, but it's out there.
What are your pronouns?
My pronouns in drag are he, him. Outside is they, he.
Okay.
So
They, he.
they, he.
Okay.
Yeah.
As
So-
opposed, now let's.
I gotta admit, the pronoun thing is
Well, it's
confusing.
hard.
It's just hard to know and then to stick to it and not to fall back into just the normal comfortable grammar that you're used to,
Yeah.
right? But just being aware of that, like if people mess up your pronouns, do you get offended?
No.
Do you
But what is
correct?
they, he?
So they, he, so it's my version of it is that I identify first as a non-binary person.
Okay.
And if
Okay.
not, he is also gender
Preferred.
affirming.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as it's not.
You don't
want
wanna
to
be a she.
I don't want to be
Yeah.
a she.
Right.
I
I
got
did
that.
that for 28 years. I'm fine.
Okay, I see that. I see
so for me, it's just like, or the best way I explain it to people is like anything but she. That's it.
How did
Okay.
you? How did you know, as opposed to just being a trans person, that you also had this alter ego
Yeah.
that you wanted to pursue? How how does that come about? Because that seems so specific that it would have been hard to have had a role model, or someone else to say, "Oh, I want to be like that." And maybe at Club Casanova, did I say that?
Yeah, Club Casanova.
Maybe
yeah.
you saw something there or whatever. But how did you know?
So I've always been a performer. I've been a dancer since I was 12 years old.
Okay.
Like I had a dance crew with my church. It was like really.
Boy, that's a twist.
Yeah, exactly. Youth ministry leader and everything. It was very funny. But so I've been dancing since I was 12 years old, and I always loved performing. Like me on a stage was my happy place
Yeah.
since I was 12.
You can tell.
And I would choreograph quinceañeras and stuff, and it just brought me joy all the time. And I stopped doing it for about a couple years, but I missed the stage so much. I was always a performer, but I was like, I'm not like kakadi kaka, like kick. I can't do splits. I can't do anything like that. Like, so, and my knees and back are shot. So I can't be a professional dancer. But, so it took a tragic moment in my life to kind of get back on stage and get back to my passion of performing. And I always loved when I saw RuPaul's Drag Race in 2009. It was we had just gotten cable, and it was on Logo, and I was just so addicted to it, and I was just so into it, and I don't know why, but I just had this connections with these girls. Like, I wanted to be in the room with them. I just wanted to hear them talk.
Aww.
And
which is so interesting.
Yeah,
because the drag king thing.
Exactly.
I was curious if when we talked about RuPaul, where that would fall in your taste.
Yeah, exactly. And it took me a conversation with an old friend of mine to be like, I want to do drag, but I don't want to be a queen, because I already have to deal with that, and I don't want to.
And that's not who you are.
That's not who I am.
Yeah.
And so she was just like, "Have you heard of a drag king?" And I was like, "What the hell is that?"
Wow.
And so
it's so fascinating to me because you felt so drawn to that, and there are other people, but you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So she took me to Hamburger Mary's in Long Beach for their once a month drag king show.
Wow.
That featured Landon Sider and Havoc Von Doom, who's a big inspiration of mine, and he performed. I'm a big nerd, so he performed as Tommy from Power Rangers, and that was my childhood favorite hero, and him performing that and with the dance moves and the exaggeration, I was like, I want to do that. And so luckily I worked in film and television, and my friends were makeup artists, and they taught me how to gender blend my face. And
what is that like? What's that process like?
It took
So you wear makeup?
I do wear makeup.
Okay.
Yeah. So the beginning, it was hard because I didn't even wear makeup until I started doing drag.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. What
about because of your association with females wearing makeup?
Yeah.
And you wanting to, it's just like us talking about your pronouns.
Yeah.
You don't associate with she. That's the one, so I wonder what that was like, getting over the stereotype of girls wear makeup.
Yeah.
And you hadn't because you weren't.
You were,
Yeah.
in a
And
way,
so
kinda
was that a
rejecting
hard,
that.
does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And totally, I was just the same. I remember having a conversation with my friend. I was like, I want to do drag, but I have to put makeup on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she's like, trust me, we will teach you how to do it to where when you look at yourself,
You
you're
feel
going to
yourself.
feel good.
Yeah. Plus, makeup is fun.
Yeah.
Makeup is fun.
Now I know this.
I
know
know.
this
Well, and also because I understand that, because it was a struggle, and you spent a lot of time rejecting that because that was not. It was a negative thing for you. I feel like in my household, I have 2 sons and a daughter. Makeup is fun for everybody.
You know what's not
You know what I
fun
mean?
is Gina without makeup.
No, it's not. Not a good
What?
time. Not a good time.
I
Not
have to mess with
in.
her. Or
not
me,
in bad
or me
lighting.
without makeup.
No, it's not a good time. No, but I prefer the makeup. Yes, but that's what I always think is that stuff is to play. You know, it's my kids, my boys will play. It's fun. I'll put the glitter in their hair. I'll put the makeup on them too because they want to play.
Well, you grew up in a conservative household. I grew up in a conservative household, small town Texas. Certainly, people playing with makeup was not
okay.
accepted.
Yeah.
And so much like you wanting to wear pants or that was your mom saying you're going to start dressing appropriately. It's truly fascinating,
right?
Your life. I mean, you are really. I was about to really get good.
Yeah. I know you were going deep.
Well, because
I love this.
I think because even as a gay man, so much of this intimidates me. I'll do GLAAD panels, and I'm terrified of saying the wrong thing. There's so
you've shared that
many
before
versions
too,
of
the queer.
Well,
thing.
I just had this. This was the topic I told you beforehand that that came up this morning when I was driving. So I'm almost 50.
It doesn't look like it.
Thank you. It's makeup
He's
and
flattering
lights.
you.
No,
No, I mean it. You know what they say? Gay don't fade.
No, right. That's right. Self-tanner does, but not gay. So here's my question: the word queer for me was so derogatory growing up.
Yeah,
and I can still hear the sound of the way people would say it.
Yeah.
sometimes to me, sometimes in general is just a term to hurt someone. And so I know that the idea is that the queer community took on that word to take its power back.
Yep.
I haven't been able to do that. I can refer to the community as queer community because I know that that's all encompassing.
Yeah.
But the word, I still haven't gotten there. And I actually, this morning, even looked up the definition of the word queer.
Yeah.
And it's strange or odd. And that's so deeply rooted in me.
Yeah.
That I actually, it actually makes me, I don't want to say mad, but it doesn't sit well with me that that's what we decided on.
Yeah.
And I say we, I wasn't a part of the conversation,
Yep.
when those things were decided. And I am so glad that there are people and representatives that go and take the time to say, what word do we feel best about? But that word I just wish it wasn't that. And I know that my straight friends have a very strong aversion to that word.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's very rare that I have a straight friend that will use that word even to describe our community. I think they're stumped, honestly. So they try not to step into it. And honestly, me too.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
I mean, for me, I feel like I'm in the middle of it because I felt the same way for a long period of time. I was just like queer, I was raised in like a cow town in the middle of like Inland Empire. If you know where Inland Empire is, it's like the 90s got stuck there.
It sounds
like,
glamorous.
Yeah, it's you have to go 20 miles to go to the one gay bar, and being raised in that majority of like Mexican Latin environment, it was just really hard. And hearing the word queer or lesbian, for me, like just like queer is to you, butch is a trigger word for me.
Right.
Because my mom was always pushed, like, don't be butch. Like when I came out, she was like, just don't be butch. And for her, I understand it's when she sees a butch person, it's short hair, no style, t-shirt and jeans or cargo shorts.
Almost comes across as anti putting themselves together.
Exactly.
Because that would be feminine.
Exactly. So, and for me, I've come to understand, especially more living in the city now for over 4 years, it's now like butch is being defined as something different. Yeah. It's like, I'm like masculine androgynous, like call me a butch. And I think it's this new generation of people trying to get the negative words and turn it into a positive. So that way for them, it's not a form of insult anymore. It's like, I'm owning up to who I am now.
Take the power back.
I'm taking the power back. And for the next generation, that's great, but I understand the aspect of a past generation that sees that these are words that really hurt us. They were people,
because they were used as weapons.
Yeah, they were used as weapons.
Yeah.
People were throwing, rocks at people, saying queer, faggot, all these things.
Yep.
And now, like, it's kind of like a PTSD.
It is. That's a great way to say it. I think for the straight community too, because they might have been involved in that.
Exactly.
I mean, honestly, when I was a kid and closeted and so afraid of anyone thinking that of me, I certainly used those words in a derogatory way, which, is very embarrassing. And it breaks my heart for that kid who thought he needed to say that about other people. And it's funny, even fag for me doesn't hit me like that. And the reason why is because among gay friends, we'll say the word fag.
Exactly.
But I never say the word queer.
Yeah.
Because I'll say fag in a derogatory term, but it's funny.
Yeah.
Like to gay friends.
Exactly.
But I would never call someone queer.
Yeah.
And I think it also has to do with the difference in queer being an adjective and a queer is like, they would say, he's a queer.
Oh, yeah.
There's something that is harsher about the noun.
Because it's pointing towards you.
Yes.
Directly.
And I'm just realizing that now.
Yeah.
Like as we were talking, I was going in my head about the way it was used,
Mm-hmm.
and it was used like pointed. I think I may have said that right. If it's a noun, adjective, whatever.
Yeah.
Queer
Yeah.
is an all-encompassing way to describe,
Exactly.
Like a community.
as
Like a
opposed to
community.
a queer who is
You're
a person.
targeting
Yeah, a
an
noun.
individual
Yeah.
and it's derogatory.
I think the generational thing, you just nailed that though, because I don't think that people that are older have a real place for it. I think people like me are a little scared of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like,
But isn't that okay? Like, I feel like it's okay to represent your generation, right? And to say, look, for the younger generation, I think it's great. Take back that word. But I personally am not fully comfortable using it in my everyday language, and although I support you and all of that, I'm not going to be able to do that in this box and sphere, because you're the ones who had to deal with it.
Yeah.
They didn't have to take
Yeah,
those hits. You know, I
Right.
mean,
Well,
it was
yeah.
yeah.
Like the generation that's coming up now, they're just
like,
you
"Hi,
opened
guys."
up the
I
door
mean,
for
they are
them. Yeah,
coming
but
Hi, guys, I'm
yes,
queer.
exactly. They weren't getting like hiding in the closet at school from the bullies who were
Right.
like, "You're a queer." So I think it's okay to talk about that, right? Because there are differences in the different like the community itself. There's so many different variations of the LGBTQ plus community, but then within that, there's gonna be generational differences as well. And I think it's okay to highlight that and to not be okay with stuff. It doesn't mean that you're not supportive of it, but you're still gonna stay in your appropriate generational experience.
Yeah. And the thing is like, as an LGBTQ plus community, we should, that's the beauty of the community, is that we respect each other's boundaries. We respect each other's language and understanding, and hear each other's stories, and kind of like learn from each other. That's the great part about it. You know, I work at the LA LGBT Center, and I work a lot with their seniors over there, and you know, they just like pronouns and all these things.
Oh my God, I'm a senior.
You are not a senior.
I roll
honey.
myself in.
Have you seen?
He's LGBTQ plus AARP. That's what you are. Yeah, that's right.
Gina.
Yep, coming in with the
premium plan.
I think we know the TikTok snippet.
Boom.
But it's just it's so funny because where we work at, we have the youth housing like across the street from the senior center, so they interact with each other and they talk with each other and learn from each other, and it's really
so great.
It's really beautiful because you see the older like seniors like dancing to like WAP and just like going like this, and like the youngsters are teaching them how to dance and dancing with them and interacting, and like they share each other's stories, and they share like the struggles of now and then, and kind of understand each other, and that's the beauty of it, and that's how it should be. And if anybody's gonna be an asshole about it, then that's their fucking deal.
And they were probably going to be an asshole about it anyway.
Exactly.
About anything. I mean, there's always going to be assholes.
Yeah.
You're never going to get rid of that. You can't eradicate that.
You can't do that.
Thinking
There's
about
dicks out there. All the time.
There really is. They're
There's
just
actual
swinging out there all day,
dicks.
every day. Yes, they really are. Yes.
So many dicks.
Yeah.
Speaking of so many dicks, I used to work at Mickey's in West Hollywood.
Oh my God, I could totally see that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
I don't know what it is, but I'm seeing it too, I think.
It was a bar that actually, I worked at it before. It burned. There was a period of time where, like, it looks different now. But I was thinking about the difference in, you were talking about the seniors out there dancing to WAP. When I was living in LA and in my 20s, there was this emphasis on hyper masculinity, super muscles. Everybody talked like this. Like that was what was, I get trendy, or guys were so afraid of seeming feminine, and so it's interesting now that people are owning that, really stepping into it. And it used to, I used to be, again, so afraid of it that I seemed offended. Yeah. RuPaul for me was that show that is my favorite show. But when it came out and my husband would watch it, I would just be like, I cannot believe you watch this. I just, them just calling each other girl and all of the just it was so much that all of the things that I had put on myself, that you're supposed to be masculine, that you're supposed to present in a way that doesn't offend straight people, that you know that you can't act any other way than what is your lane. And that show, I mean, just they blew all of those stereotypes apart, and I couldn't take it. And then when I finally eased into watching it, actually, you know what got me into it was, you know how at the end of every season, he'll hold a picture up of the little kid and say, talk to little Joey. And they always say a similar thing, which is, it's going to be hard, but you're going to get through it. And I always feel like they're talking to little me. Aww. You know? And so that show, that's when it started to change for me. I was like, wow, there's a lot more to this. And so I love that you love it. It is interesting because I don't feel like you're represented on there.
Oh, it's not. Okay. No, not at all. Like we, you know, me having ears in West Hollywood and friends in West Hollywood, you know, the drag community, people don't know this. Drag community is very small. So you hear who's going to be on the next season all the time. Or, hey, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And like the rumor was this last season that just finished, they had a drag king that they had pulled up for the final choices, and then they rejected him. And so
why do you think that is?
Well, what has been publicized is that drag kings don't bring up to par, quote unquote, what queens do, you know, like, and because of the masculinity in the makeup and the personification, you know, we don't have big gowns with heels.
I mean, I would argue that, yes, you don't have the bells and whistles to lean on, right? But like also then doesn't that make it even more impressive if like you are connecting with the audience? Like you moved me. Like I thought you were the best act there. And like I didn't know anything about it. I just genuinely saw you coming through. Yeah. And also like your outfit was still really fun. You know what I mean? Like you're like it's not like he was wearing like your dad's suit. You know what I mean? He was wearing a really fun, cool outfit. Like out of everything on the stage, that's the only outfit I would have wore. So you know what I mean? Seriously, like I loved it. I loved everything about it, and I was so impressed by it. So like that has to say something about it. So maybe they just haven't found the right king yet.
Or not, maybe not even the right person, as much as trying to figure out how the challenges wouldn't actually work against.
Yeah, or be unfair. Yeah.
But I bet you that's coming.
I mean, I'm coming for it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm coming for it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm just laying it up there.
Should. I support you. This is a question though. What would you say, since you brought up like the whole like little Joey thing or whatever?
Yeah.
What there are, obviously I'm saying the young generation doesn't have it as bad, and every generation it does get better and better. But there are kids that are still in the 909 out there, you know, sort of suppressed by the way that they're being raised and all of that. What would you say to those kids that are not, you know, that are just like you, that are struggling and know that there's something going on, but they're really not permitted to be who they are? What advice would you give those kids?
I'm about to get emotional. Just because I do this as a producer, of a show producer, I produce shows purposely for that reason. What I would tell these kids is that not to listen to what other people want them to be, but to be who they feel they want to be. Because the only person, my great-grandmother, I love her so much, the best thing she used to say was, the best person you could be is yourself. Aww. And there is no mistakes that are made in this humanity. I believe that God, you know, they say that God doesn't make mistakes, and that also means he did not make a mistake with the LGBTQ plus community. He created all of us to bring light. I believe he brought the queer community to bring light and love and acceptance and non-judgmental people, to bring light into this world, to teach people how to be humans, how to be proper human beings. And especially people, like for kids in little towns that they feel they're so scared, they're so in they're just, you know, probably putting their mom's wigs when she's not there, or you know, what I used to do is I used to put my dad's jacket on because he was only on the weekend, so sometimes I would sneak that in. And don't be ashamed of that. Embrace it, love it. And yeah, it's gonna be hard if your parents, especially if you're a person of color, it's gonna be harder because you have expectations, you have cultural expectations, you have this necessity of masculinity and machismo, what we call it, that you have to be this, but you get to define that now. This is the generation, and this is a time where you get to rewrite your history and rewrite the history of your people. And so embrace who you are, love who you are, and there's a goddamn community who's gonna love you for it, and they will not know who you are, but they will love you. And so just don't be afraid of that and go find your people, and there's people around you that are gonna love you.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I would say, like, at a
exceptional.
basic level, humanity
you.
level, right? I love that. Like, everybody truly deserves to be who they are.
Yeah.
And anybody who says anything different can go kick rocks.
Yeah.
Because
Exactly.
everybody on a basic human level just deserves to be who they are.
Exactly.
Your great grandmother sounded amazing.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
she
love
was
her.
fierce.
I
Well,
love
especially
her.
to be of a totally different generation, but to be obviously seeing something in
was smart.
you that the seeing something in you sounds like that was struggling and giving you the courage to just say, hey, just be you.
Both of my great grandmother and my grandmother were exceptional women. I was raised by really amazing women, and that's why I have such appreciation for women so much. It's because, like, my great grandmother, she lived in, she was born in 1910, and went through the 30s, and she taught me how to dance. She was just like, you need to learn how to dance. She was like, the only way you're gonna get married is if you know how to dance properly.
Wow.
And know how to cook. But you better move them hips because you need to make this family proud.
That's hysterical.
And
you do, though. You really
thank
do.
you. But she was, she was a seamstress. She would get Vogue. She was in Guatemala and would get Vogue and just make outlines based on what she looked at on Vogue, and then
I
make
love
dresses
that.
like that. And she had 5 kids. She didn't marry my grandfather until the last one was 10.
What?
Because she was just like, I don't want you to marry me just because I have kids with you.
Wow.
And this
That
was, yeah.
a different
A
time.
woman ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then my other grandmother, she couldn't read or write, but she managed her own business like for 40, 50 years. And till this day, it's a Nicaraguan landmark in La Paz Centro, León. And I found out later on.
Which is where? Guatemala?
In
Where?
Nicaragua.
Oh,
It's
okay.
in Nicaragua, which is another southern country.
Okay.
But I just found out, like, when I came out to her, like 5 years ago, she was just like, I have drag queens at my house. And I was like, what? And she's like, the girls come over, do their makeup at my house, and they do the drag shows in my house. And I'm like, wait, what? So my grandmother used to host drag shows in her house.
That's so interesting.
Your
Do you
grandmother
think that
was-
Your grandmother is.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Low key. Do you think that there's anybody in your family, like your grandma or anybody else, who may have had similar experience to you, or like identified maybe privately differently? Or...
I have a suspicion, yes. We have I have a lot of relatives and aunties and uncles, cousins that are gay, that are queer.
Okay.
But I mean, I would not be surprised.
Well, let's go. Since we're here on the podcast, go ahead and name them.
Let's out them all.
Where's the list? Okay.
Yes.
Well, I
my
mean,
gosh.
honestly, I want us to. We don't have as much time as I would like because this feels like we've been here 5 minutes. I want to make sure that we get to talk about anything that you have going on.
Yeah.
And the podcast and other things. So we can
tell us where we can see your
let's
show
plug.
and all of that.
Yeah. So every third Saturday of the month at Mama Shelter, I have Dapper Puss brunch, which is a drag king dominated brunch. So we're not doing,
And that's in Long Beach?
We gotta go
that.
to that.
It's actually here in Hollywood.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
At Mama Shelter
Okay.
Hotel. So we're not doing it. We were supposed to have a date this Saturday, but I'm actually planning a big event for June for Pride Month.
Oh, so fun.
That we've been. I'm lucky enough that the city of West Hollywood has collaborated with us to fund a big event. So
amazing.
So that will be June 15th. We'll have a Pride brunch, 2 seatings, 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. at Mama Shelter.
Okay.
And then the podcast is Behind the Kingdom, King-DOM. And we talk about different things. We talk about bio kings, which is, male identified people who do become our drag kings.
Okay.
There's also like trans men who are drag queens. So we talk about that too. And, just the different kinds of what is a drag king? Where does it come from? And also just like conversations that are not really talked about in drag. Like there's an episode I want to do about being a parent and doing drag and the struggle of doing that.
You have got to come back and tell us as you go on this journey.
Thank you.
When does the baby do?
Baby due August 4th.
Do you have a name?
Her name is Valen Sabina.
Oh, that's so cute.
Is it Valen?
Valens.
Valens.
As in Richie Valens, yeah.
I love
amazing.
That. That's so adorable.
I love everything about you.
Yeah, right? I told you. I know.
But
and
thank
where
you
can
so
we find you
much.
on Instagram?
You can find me on Johnny JOHNNY The Gent LA. If anything, just book more drag kings if you're watching.
Yeah.
Drag kings are fun.
They are fun.
We can't do, some of us can do splits and stuff, but we love to give theater. And
yeah, that's what it is. It's a theater vibe. I love it.
And
I'm here
it
for
really
it.
makes me happy that you like that the number, because that actual number is really special to me. It's a swan song to my dead name, Roxanne. So that's why I did Tango Day Roxanne.
Oh.
So it's an emotional number about me battling myself of discovering that I was trans.
See, that is, and I could feel that was, I knew there was something more. It was like the passion behind it was there. And I think you could really feel that coming out. And it was like a whole experience.
She was talking about your artistry when she told me about you, and she just got so emotional and passionate.
I was moved,
Thank you.
honestly.
Yeah.
And now hearing that, it makes so much more sense, you know? And when it's kind of hard too, because you're in this setting where it's just fun and light and everything's fun, but then you came through and it was different and I could feel it. And it did feel so much more like artistic expression. And I knew there was a story behind it and I didn't know what the story was. And now that I know, it's even more powerful, you know?
Yeah.
But I wish you all the success in the world. I hope you keep
you.
crushing it. And I'm going to get out to that brunch for sure.
Come on over.
I hope
I'll
I
put
can
you on the
make it
list.
for,
Let's go.
yeah,
You too.
I hope I
You
can-
too, Shane. Let's go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm definitely coming.
He's
You
there.
don't have to
You
worry.
don't got to sell him.
No.
You don't got to sell us. We're easy sells. Yes.
Would
But
love
thank
that.
you so much, Johnny,
Thank you for
coming
having
in.
me.
Thank
This
you.
is an honor.
You
Thank
guys
you.
follow Johnny. He's amazing. Go see him. And that's all we got.